Okay, so with everybody coming back here, so as you wait the hour in the town plaza, while Silas does actually offer you a slight mixture of something in a small vial that he pulled out from part of his bag. It appears to be some kind of lozenge or something. He mentions that it's something that a an old friend of the guild had made for him once. He wanted to just have you try it out just in case it helps whatever the hell the Alip did to your voice. So, do you use that?
I mean, if he explains it, yeah, I'll just chug it.
Yeah, as you chug it, it doesn't necessarily seem like it's anything magical. It tastes bitter as all get out, but it does appear to have worked.
I mean, hey, the bitter the better.
Yeah, I suppose. And
Uh,
he kind of takes the vial back, and it seems to be pretty pleased that it works. And around the same time, it's been maybe about an hour or so. Out is I would assume at this point, Silas probably treats you all to lunch somewhere at like one of the vendors or stalls that's out in the main plaza. It's general kind of street food. It's not necessarily the most healthy, but it does taste good.
Nice, you're already taking us out on a date. How sweet.
Yes, you get to go out on a date with possibly the most stoic and silent man in the entire Adventurers Guild roster so far. Just absolute silence most of the ways, unless for whatever reason anybody wants to like ask him questions.
Not
I'm just going to
specifically,
stare.
no. Yeah.
I'm just going to stare.
Okay,
I
yeah,
think Mizu is just gonna ask how he's holding up since the fight.
just to quickly, so Sigurdhur, you do stare at him, but you can't really read him because his posture is fairly unexpressive, and he does still have that mask on, so you can't really get too much out of him. So it kind of ends up just being almost like staring at a brick wall. And then regarding what you had asked him, Mizu, he just kind of briskly states, "I've been doing fine. I didn't take too much damage from the fight, but I mean, psychic damage does wear off fairly quickly with a good night's rest."
It's good to hear.
And he just gives you a nod and kind of goes on with everybody moving back to the center of town, which you can see that kind of right outside of the guild hall that all of you were at. You do see Varys is sitting there waiting with a small bag at his side that he then picks up and hoists over his shoulder. And as all of you approach, he just kind of gives everybody a glance over. So, is everybody ready to proceed?
I have no
I'm not.
problem with going.
Yep, I think we're ready.
All right, well, we'll start making our way for the border, and then we should hopefully be able to proceed without issue through to the border. And with that, he kind of starts walking off towards the southern end of the square and kind of waves his hand behind you as to say, like, follow behind me. And Silas certainly already does, and you can actually see now that it wasn't out while you were all walking across the actual town with Silas, but you do see that his white drake almost kind of appears as he walks by in place, and it just kind of trails behind where he is, just very slowly and attentively.
Mizu can't help but smile at the sight. It reminds her of Coco.
Yes, if Coco was 5 feet long and had teeth that could crush a man's skull.
Exactly. I feel like that's a fever dream of his.
It's what he can become if he trains hard enough.
Coco and the cooler Coco.
Yeah, pretty much. So at that point, all of you start making your way towards the actual proper crossing of Belmare's. Eventually, you do leave the city limits, and you're kind of just in Belmare proper. As you're going along, Varys does explain that a majority of the region surrounding Aresh and what is now known as Lutari is kind of a no man's land. It's not really inhabited by anybody because of all of the nonsense that keeps happening around the area. And eventually, once he does finish that explanation, he does kind of go over the game plan that eventually you are going to reach an area heavily obscured by mists. There's should be certain lamp posts that are set up at the very least the first quarter of the way through the crossing, and that at that point a majority of everything will become obscured, and you will basically just have to make it straight out through until you hit the clearing. And that is unfortunately everything that he is able to give you in terms of what the plan is. But he is willing to kind of field any questions after that.
I do believe I have a few torches with me. Yes, I do. Fantastic.
And then if nobody has any further questions, Varys does actually kind of spin around and walk backwards for a little bit, and actually looks both at you, Sigurdhur, and you, Mizu, and just kind of asks, so, we already know, at the very least I already know Mr. Welleria's story and what drives him. If you don't mind me asking, Mr. Gilderesson and Miss Mizu, so what drove you to join up with the guild on this particular mission?
Sigurdhur looks at the smaller woman and waits for her to give an answer.
Fuck you, Anne. Okay.
You're welcome.
Seeing how Sigurdhur is looking at Mizu, her eyes then wander over back to Varys before they shy away, and then back to Sigurdhur. It feels like she can't really. I think it's pretty noticeable, so I don't really have to make anyone roll here, that she gets a little flustered over the attention from the elfman in particular for some reason. So her eyes are not really landing on his face. They're everywhere but his face, basically. And she kind of fumbles and nervously fidgets around with her fingertips, right? And after a moment of silence, like I'd say a couple of minutes. Oh my...
Really?
What?
Okay. So yeah, all right. Yeah. Well, yeah.
So I'm assuming he knows
finally
what's up.
clicked for him. Yeah,
he knows what's up.
It clicked. Everything just immediately clicked.
I mean, let's be real, he probably knows and has experience. But okay, yeah, she can't look Varys in the eyes or anything on the face. Fidgets around. After a moment of silence, a few seconds, she finally gave an answer and kind of stumbles over her own words in the beginning. I was sent by my tutor, my mentor, Mistress Yukino. She said that my progress, I suppose, in terms of wizardry, my progress has been kind of, she can't. You notice how she can't get herself to finish the sentence, and she keeps saying, at the end.
Yeah.
Welle's gonna butt in. They're just like, come on, Mizu, I'm sure you can use your bigger words.
Yeah, at that point, Varys does actually chime in. So you are a student of Mistress Yukino's. I've heard of her several times from members of the Orphan's Angels. And it is at this point, while you actually immediately pick up, you know exactly who he's talking about.
Yeah, once he mentions the angel, he's like, oh.
Yeah, this is this is not just the A-listers. This is the triple A-listers in terms of the guild.
Yeah, now he's kind of glad he's been looking out for them.
Now he's
Hasn't just
glad.
left her in the dirt.
Now he's glad, really?
Hey, look, it would have bitten him real hard in the ass if he didn't, make sure she was okay.
Yeah, and I would actually say at this point, roll a history check. Just you, Wylle.
Hmm.
Not quite enough, but in the second that he mentions the angels, you remember him introducing himself as Verus Del Rossi, and you swear to God you've heard that name somewhere before, but you can't remember where.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't necessarily have it. It has something to do with the Orphan's Angels, but it's not anything pertinent. I mean, you've heard many tales of their heroism and their deeds, and like battles that they've fought across the realms and everything, but that something about it has to do with Mr. Del Rossi here, but you don't know exactly what. It's not, you can tell it's not like deathly important or anything,
Mm-hmm.
but it is at the very least something that is kind of scratching at the back of your head now.
Gotcha. Yeah. Now that he like so casually mentions them, it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
And it is also at this point, Mizu, that you would notice that just speaking about Mistress Yukino sending you out to kind of kickstart your progress, and you would also remember that she did give you
A stone.
Yeah.
Yeah, she gave me a stone. Or, well, she gave Mizu a stone. And in this case, I kept thinking, like, okay, the stone's probably most of the time inside the pocket of her coat.
Okay.
I'm not sure if she has to take it out in order for her to notice the effect, or if there's any sort of vibrations in any case, or other sign.
Yeah, no, you would notice, you would know that having been shown kind of how it works and just having held on to it for a decent amount of time, you would know that yes, you do have to effectively take it out and handle it to be able to get it to kind of update on where you're going.
Can I try to remember to maybe like hold on? Okay, let's say Mizu is a bit too nervous right now. I feel like that's a good reasoning, and she needs to fumble with something that makes sense, I suppose, in her head, because she realizes she's been like kind of like tugging and pulling on her fingers, like fiddling around with them the entire time, and knowing that now, it made her feel a little self-conscious. So she tries to reach out and pats herself on the sides, kind of trying to remember where the gem is. Do I have to roll for anything?
I wouldn't say you have to roll for anything to remember where it is. I mean, it's a pretty obvious little gem in your pocket. And I would say if you're trying to remember, I mean, I guess that would be a history check, but I mean, the DC is going to be so low that with your modifier, I wouldn't even have you roll. Yeah, I was going to say your modifier for history is a +6, so...
Oh. Alright, I just want to make sure in case, just to play it fair, you know. But yeah, she was like, at the while she was like at least talking about Yukino, she was reminded of the stone, and so she like starts patting, and then she notices it and pulls it out.
Yeah, and at that point, Varys would kind of take note of that and just kind of ask, and is that supposed to be part of your training?
Mizu looks at him and then flinches for a moment, because don't look at the face, basically. That's the whole deal right now. So she looks back down at the item that she got from her pocket, thankful that she was reaching out for it, because now she actually has a reason to look away and not be all awkward. But yeah, she looks at the little like a small like 10-sided crystal. It's a small delphohedron? Is that what it's called? I don't know how to.
It's something. It's kind of dohedron.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
A small 10-sided crystal, and at that question.
It's basically a D10.
Okay. Yeah. At that question, she nods.
Yeah, and in response, Varys does actually kind of gesture his hand. Might I see that for a second?
She doesn't say anything. She just, you know, gives it to him when he holds out his palm, I suppose.
Yeah, he does he does actually reach out with his mage hand, just to kind of keep pace with everybody and not disrupt the group. And he kind of pulls it back to himself, puts it in his actual hand, takes a look at it for just a quick second, and you can kind of hear him mutter under his breath, "Okay, yes, it's not." And then he goes and mage hands it back over to you before saying, "Yes, I wasn't knowing some of the training that Mistress Yukino is fond of, or at the very least from some of the training that she went through. I wasn't sure if this might have perhaps been some form of spell crystal. There's certain... Go ahead.
Oh, while Varys was explaining, she looks over to Crystal again, before commenting afterwards that... commenting afterwards, well, she did give this to me and said that it'll guide me, and that's the most that I know about this.
Yeah, I would assume it's probably some form of tracking crystal then. It'll probably take you either to a specific person, place, or thing.
Okay, that's good to know. I just wish I knew the sign, I suppose. It's been pretty... Well, there's not a lot of... Fuck, hold on.
Damn, Mizu swearing?
No, hold on. Okay, cut. No, give me a moment, because her nervousness is starting to get to me. I've been really trying to get into character so much that I'm nervous now. If you could tell. All right. So she she looks over to Crystal again and says, "Well, I just wish I knew what the signs are, because so far there's a whole lot of nothing coming from this thing."
Yeah, I mean, at this moment you would notice that, I mean, while you haven't necessarily gotten a big sign from it so far, you do know that as you are moving south, it's incredibly hard to perceive, but you do actually know that there is almost this very thin, almost kind of like gold filament line that you can just barely notice on the inside of it now, and it is pointing south.
Is that the direction we're heading to?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And you would know
if she notices
you would know
it
that
now. Oh, sorry.
that when you were given the item, you were told what it was tracking.
Yeah, she was told that it'll lead her to an acquaintance of her master or mistress.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So as you kind of go on, Varys kind of just nods his head, kind of in understanding of what you've told him, and he then turns to Sigurdhur. And Mr. Gilderesson, you apparently had quite an interesting entry into Adventurers Guild business. Might I ask what led you to work with us?
With you specifically, or to take up adventuring as a whole?
Just work with the guild in general. I mean, you and I met by happenstance.
That's a much shorter story then. I was out drinking in a bar one night. I was with a bunch of working people, and we were having great fun. And then there's a prick came in, started swearing at people, being overall a pain in the ass, if you allow me the expression. So much so that in my drunkenness, I smashed the person's face with my hand, and I believe a few teeth flew out of his mouth at this point. Learned later that this person was actually sort of important, at least for you people. And it got me into trouble. I was put into what you call jails. The food is disgusting. I don't know if that's the point, but it was really bad. And then some person, I couldn't tell you her name, but she looked important as well. She was clad in a long dark robe, if I remember correctly, and she was out of character? Was she a dragonborn?
You don't know. You could see that there was a large, thick tail, much like a dragonborn, but a lot of other features about her didn't really make sense. You didn't get a good look at her aside from her general silhouette against the light that was coming into the jail cells behind her.
Fair enough. Okay. Couldn't really make up who she was, but she looked important. She spoke with the people in charge of my jail, and I was offered with the choice of either staying in the jail or doing some adventuring work in the name of that person. Since the food was disgusting and I didn't really like my jailmate, decided it would be better for me to leave this place than to remain. And
Yes,
here
your
I am.
jailmate, the ghost.
Yes, my jailmate, the ghost. Wait, I didn't have any jailmate.
No, you were in a singular cell.
Did I invent a jailmate? Man, maybe I should get checked. Anyway.
Maybe you should lay off the drinking a little bit.
I don't know what you're talking about, and he takes a swing.
Jeez.
So yeah, that is
Interesting.
my story.
You must have made quite the impression on somebody to be able to be forwarded directly into guild business, especially at rank 3.
I punch really well.
So
I
it
can
would
confirm
seem.
he punches very well.
You know what? I'd like to try something if you would you would humor me. And he kind of he stops walking a little bit for a minute. He was kind of in front of everybody, and he does go over to the side and sets his bag down. And then you can see him perform some kind of a motion with his hands. And immediately you can see his form kind of, not necessarily shifting, but you can see this odd kind of shimmering that starts appearing around him, especially around his hands. And let me see if I can go and do this. Is at this point you can see that there is a blue shimmering set of scales. You can barely see the outlines around on his hands. And immediately you can see them start to take the shape of 2 large claws that not only overlap his hands, but also form a large pair of spectral hands that come off of his shoulders and extend down almost all the way down to his legs, probably with each one of those hands probably being about the size of yours, Sigurdhur, and you see this.
Yeah, I'm gonna step away from this just a little bit. I don't wanna, whatever he's planning, I do not want to be caught in the crossfire.
This is
Yeah,
out of
as-
character. This is out of character. I'm not saying this as Mizu, but one of us is gonna leave pregnant, and it ain't gonna be me.
I fucking hate you. I hate this fucking family.
I suppose I should also mention that, yeah, this was also drawn by Lee quite a while ago, so yeah, she has a very, very good understanding of this character. But as he goes and sets his bag down and casts this spell, again, you can see these large spectral clawed hands kind of hang down from his shoulders, and you can see this kind of devilish grin appear on his face, and he goes and actually walks up to you, Sigurdhur, and holds up one of the hands, and kind of a readying combat stance just says, "All right, hit me."
Pardon.
I knew it.
Hit the hand. And he
Right.
holds up one of those large spectral hands, and when he actually unfurls the hand, that hand is about like the size of his head. Like, it looks like this hand could, like, reach onto your head, and the very tips of the claws would basically reach the back of your skull and, like, meet.
Your hand. Hit your hand. Right?
Yeah, hit the hand right here, and he kind of waves the spectral hand. And
You're
it's
very-
it's just completely open palmed.
Sure.
Right, so yeah, just make an unarmed attack roll.
Unarmed attack roll. Not great.
15.
Not bad.
Yeah, unfortunately he just beats you. Is as you go and swing into the hand, you're met with a pretty solid object. Like, this almost feels like striking like a, how to put it, like, this feels like striking like a bodybuilder's arm, like dead on. Like, it feels like you've hit some kind of a wall just made of meat, but it's obviously a spectral hand. And he actually kind of swats it away fairly easily. Like, huh, interesting. Is that all you've got?
My body was not into it.
All right, let's
I
see.
knew it trying.
Your body wasn't ready.
Yeah, Wild's
Mhm.
gonna take another like 2 steps back. Like,
Yeah, Mizu follows
Good.
suit. Follows him.
yeah.
Yeah, you can see Silas goes, and you can't see his face because he's still got the mask on, but you can tell that he's rolling his eyes, and he goes over onto the side of the road and sits down with his Drake just kind of encircling him.
Come on, it can't be that bad. An arm strike, please. That's slightly
That's
better.
17. A little bit better.
Yeah, you go and swing at the hand again. You can feel it kind of give a little bit as he kind of redirects it off to the side. All right, interesting. That's 1-1. All right. And he kind of holds it up, waiting to see if you try to go again.
You're really annoying.
You can see him grin at that.
Oh, come on. Why can't I roll better than 12?
All right, as you go and swing at the hand again, you can actually feel it give quite a bit more easily this time, as you actually do see the fist go right through the hand, kind of dispersing it into this kind of light blue dust, before he goes and moves the wrist off to the side, and you can see the hand reform. And he kind of takes a look at it and kind of gives a bit of a smirk and a nod while he's looking over at the hand, like, all right. And then he goes, and you can see him dispel the hands from his person, and he just looks back up to you. All right, I see that you are certainly at the level, or even above the level that they wrote you down at. Glad to have you on the team.
I don't really like your tone, but thank you.
You can hear Silas chirp up in the background. Trust me, you'll never get used to it.
Reassuring?
I do trust that. Thank you.
Yeah, and as things go on, you can see Varys goes and grabs his bag and starts off southward on the path again. And it is at this point that you've been spending a couple of hours moving along the path, and in kind of an odd coincidence, you do note that the weather is definitely getting darker. It doesn't necessarily look like it's about to start storming at the moment, but the cloud cover is definitely getting thicker and thicker as you're kind of moving along. You
Can
still don't
we-
necessarily
Oh, sorry.
see anything in the distance just yet, but you can certainly chime in with whatever you want to do here.
I was just about to ask. I didn't. Sorry. Sometimes Discord lags behind for me on my end, and I can't hear. But otherwise,
Ah,
I was just gonna ask: is it possible for us to notice the time by any chance, or the weather?
you unfortunately can't really notice the time too much. The cloud cover has gotten thick enough that you can't see the sun So unless you have any specific items that allow you to intrinsically tell the time, like any kind of spells or feats that do so, I would say that at this point, you know that you left sometime around like noon-ish, maybe a little bit after noon, but you don't know exactly. So unless you have something like a like an orb of time or whatever the hell they call it, then yeah, unfortunately you would not be able to tell from the sun at the very least.
Alright.
You can tell it's been about 2-3 hours on the road, and at the moment you still have not come into sight of the crossing just yet.
Is it starting to? Sorry, is it starting to be light? To be dark?
Yeah, it is actually starting to be quite dark, like almost to the point where there's a part of you that wonders almost if it's already started to be like sundown. So I would say that in that case, anybody that wants to try to figure out the time, I'm just trying to think about what this would be more of. Roll me a wisdom check, I guess.
Everyone?
Anybody that wants to try to tell what time it is.
May a survival apply there? Because we're technically trying to figure out, survivalism stuff.
I'd say... Oh, would this be more nature? Yeah, I would say this would be more nature than survival.
Sag.
Yeah. Well, actually, no, it does state that, yes, predicting the weather is also a part of survival is... so, yeah, I'll let it ride.
Thank you.
Okay, so... Yeah, Mizu, you immediately know that it can't have been more than an hour or so since you left, maybe 2 at most, and that it should still be decently light out, but you also didn't hear from anybody that was supposed to rain today as well, and these clouds look heavily laden with water. That's the only way they could necessarily be so dark. And I mean, unless you want to attempt a different roll, then it just seems like you're running into some bad weather, possibly, which could complicate the border crossing.
This doesn't feel right, however. Is it possible that while we're walking, she can mumble detect magic under her breath as a ritual?
Yep, I'll say so.
Okay, then she'll do that.
And yeah, and we'll count that as running unless anybody else wants to try anything else.
I would like to light up one of my torches, but I would like to run as well. I would like to accelerate as well, if that is what...
Oh, sorry, no, that was just a choice of words. You're not actually picking up pace, you're just kind of keeping steady pace.
Oh, then, yeah. Keep steady pace and also, like, light up a torch to that. Because Sigurdhur cannot see in the dark. He would need that sort of things to see.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that it's necessarily dark just yet, but it is heavily overcast. So, it's not quite to the point that you need a torch just yet, but it is starting to impede your long-range vision. You can still see up to maybe a couple hundred feet in front of you, maybe like 300, 400 feet or something. Or to put it in maybe easier to understand terms, probably about 100 to 150 meters.
Okay, then don't worry, I know feet somehow.
Yeah.
Then I will refrain from lighting up a torch and I will wait for later.
Yeah, I mean you certainly take it out, but you can also kind of gather that it's probably best to not light it just yet.
Good plan. I'll do that.
Yep. And then if there's nothing else, Mizu, after 10 minutes, your detect magic does go up, and oddly enough, you can't detect any specific magic around you, but you do kind of see just in the atmosphere, there is these kind of cloudy wisps of things that are kind of showing up in the air. It doesn't show up as any particular kind of magic. It's almost as if you're just looking at ambient magic. And again, it's just kind of like gentle smoke rolling in breezes, not really centered around everything. It's just kind of passive.
From that, I can deduce that this must be one of the natural phenomena that they previously mentioned prior, I suppose, right?
Possibly. You're not entirely sure if it is or not, just based off of what you're seeing, but you may be able to gather more information.
Alright. Thanks.
So if that's it, as you do eventually start to make your way out across the border crossing, or your way towards the border crossing, you're not there yet, the weather does eventually start getting darker and darker, and eventually as you start to possibly get closer to your destination, you do notice that over the horizon, you do start seeing a very faint resemblance of fog that just kind of seems to permeate the entirety of the horizon. And eventually, after maybe another half an hour of walking, you do see it pretty clearly, as there is a fairly large amount of fog that is kind of starting to roll in around like heavy hillsides and kind of coalesce in certain areas until eventually you do reach what effectively looks like a gigantic fog wall stretching possibly like miles or kilometers up into the air. And it is at this point that Varys looks over at Silas, and the two of them kind of nod. They both put their bags over their shoulders, and you can see Varys take out the Grove Shard crystal that he was previously holding on to. And he kind of looks over to the rest of you. All right, so this here is the border crossing, and unfortunately it would appear that we were not able to make it as fast as we hoped we would be able to, so we're going to need to hang up for a couple of minutes here while Silas and I try to figure the best plan of attack here. And at this point, both of them kind of start discussing parts of the Grove Shard. You can hear them mentioning trying to figure out how to activate it or see if there's a way to work with it. As Varys is holding it in his hands, you do note that it is glowing fairly brightly. I wouldn't say it's like a light source, but it does at the very least have a bit of light coming from it in general. And at this point you would have, I would say, maybe like, you would assume probably maybe 30 minutes or so to prepare for anything should you find it appropriate.
Oh. I'd like for Mizu to take out her spell scroll, and in my case, I'll see if I can prepare and change any of my spells.
I believe that to change out any of your spells, I believe you require a long rest, which is 8 hours.
Okay, then I can't do that. All right, but
I
let's
was
just
gonna say,
she's
considering you did have a long rest, I would say that retroactively, if you wanted to change out any of your spells, that I would say that you would have done so overnight, so you can go do that right now if you really want to.
All right, then let's just flavor it that she's just repeating the things that she went over through overnight. So she's gonna do that while anyone else is preparing.
Yeah,
Okay.
Wylle doesn't have anything like to prepare specifically, but you see him like walk away, not too far, just far away so that he can sit down on a curb somewhere, and you see him like take out a little cube And the moment he fiddles with it, you see him like immediately relax, and it looks like there's a small heat wave around him, and he's just gonna sit there just absolutely blissed out in the warmth.
Yeah, as you go and take it out, at the second that you are able to activate it, you can see a set of arcane lines kind of in a grid pattern around the whole cube activate and shine out a kind of slightly orangey light as, yeah, you can see that there is small, like, not necessarily heat waves, but like the beginnings of heat waves that do kind of emanate out around him in a 15-foot radius.
So warm. Yeah, absolutely blissed out in the warmth. In his lane.
Focused, flourishing.
Yeah, that's what he's gonna be doing for the time they're waiting.
Yeah, and it is notable that as you activate the cube, you do kind of realize just how cold it did actually start getting. It feels almost kind of like after a rainstorm. There's kind of that damp feeling, that damp cold feeling in the air to everything. And you didn't really notice it too much as you were going in, but now that you've activated your little device there, you do notice just how damp and cold everything was getting. And as you kind of look out towards the fog wall, you do see it kind of wisping and roiling probably another like couple hundred of feet away from where you are. And you do actually see that between you and the fog wall, there is actually a separate pathway that has, it looks like, been somewhat tamped down. I would say, for more information, roll me an active perception check.
Yeah. Now I'm curious. Damn, I only have a +2. Oh, never mind.
First nat one
Never
of the
mind.
game.
Yeah.
Never mind.
As you kind of look out towards whatever this other road might be, it's a couple hundred feet off from the one that you're currently walking on. It's kind of difficult to tell exactly what's going on, because at this point you do actually notice that the fog is kind of expanding and contracting in certain areas, and at one point it does actually pulse enough over the next 10 minutes to actually engulf that road and start to recede again.
Just another silly little road. I'm too distracted by the warmth. Like,
Yes.
it is too comfy.
Cube Drine World. Yeah, I fucked that up. I was trying to say Cube Drine Warm World, Wet and Cold. Watch Naruto.
No. Yeah. By the way, if Mizu Sigurdhur try to get close to him, it's gonna be like over 30 degrees Celsius, so it's just gonna be
it's
super warm around him.
it is approximately 35 degrees Celsius within 15 feet of the cube. Or rather 3 meters, I should say, just to keep everything in its proper system.
Sigurdhur would like to concentrate and use magic awareness, which is a wild magic barbarian trait, to first gain some measure of understanding of what Varys is currently doing, and second, try to probe whether there is magical activity around us that will explain the fog.
Okay, I would say in this case, roll me a perception check, just with that, because you do see things, but this is a matter of how much you see now.
Mm-hmm. Check the chat for more detail if you need.
Or actually, I can say this is an innate feature. Actually, I'll just give it to you in this case. You see a lot of what I previously described Mizu seeing. Is you can see that there's not any specific magic in your direct vicinity aside from what is coming off of the Grove Shard crystal itself. You can just kind of see that in the air there's just kind of wisps of what doesn't necessarily seem like raw magic, but it doesn't belong to any kind of specific school of magic.
Okay.
And that when you eventually shift your focus over to the crystal that Varys and Silas are handling, that you can definitely sense that there is both there is a mixture of divination magic, evocation magic, and a little bit of transmutation as well. It kind of seems to be shifting between each of them at certain points, and eventually you can see that after Varys does something to it with his hands, some kind of spell focus perhaps, eventually it does land and stays on evocation magic, which is kind of a reddish hue, which kind of gently envelops the green crystal.
Very well. Okay. He will not comment out loud, but what he will do is unsheath his hammer and just remain attentive to any unusual noise and any potential sign of presence that may be hovering around.
Okay. For this, definitely roll me a perception check.
Okay. Yes!
Oh my goodness.
Okay, as you are standing there, I wouldn't say that you're necessarily on edge, but you do kind of notice that this is such a strange area. You're no stranger to misty mountain peaks and areas of dense fog that typically accompany whenever the snow begins to melt in your homeland. And while this does seem to have something magical or unnatural going on with it in general, it doesn't necessarily, it's not an environment that you are unfamiliar to.
Mm-hmm.
But as you kind of close your eyes for a little while and attempt to see if you can just stay attentive by hearing, and it is at that point that just barely within the range of your hearing, far, far off in the fog, you can hear just this almost kind of baleful yell. Not necessarily like a yell of something. It almost seems like actually, I don't even think you would even know what that is, but kind of like a whale call. Like it is something big and something very far off in the distance, and it seems like only you, as you look around to your other compatriots, it seems like you're the only one that notices it.
Okay. Did it sound like mountain wolves?
No, it did not sound like any kind of wolf that you have ever heard. And in fact, I would say it doesn't sound like any kind of wolf, period. It sounds like it's much bigger.
Okay. Am I able to pinpoint the direction from which it comes from, or did
Yes,
he do...
directly due south into the fog wall.
Okay. He's going to speak out. Whatever you're doing or not doing, there are creatures past the fog wall, and they're rallying.
Varys will kind of look over to you, Sigurdhur. Are you absolutely certain? Are you sure they're heading our way?
I do not know whether they are headed our way, but I know they are rallying. And I know they're in this direction. And he points through the wall, through the fog wall.
Yeah, he looks over to where you're pointing and just kind of nods to you a little bit worryingly, and you can hear him mutter under his under his breath, "Shit."
What's the
And-
type of creature that's around here?
Hmm?
What's the type of creature that's around here, normally? If there is such a thing as normal.
Silas, you handle this. And Varys starts much more rapidly attempting to kind of deal with the crystal. You can see him at this point. You can see that he actually doesn't have his hands on it anymore. It's actually floating in place in front of them, and you can actually see him. You can actually see very almost unnoticeable tendrils of green energy going from the crystal into his fingertips as he's attempting to do something to it, and Silas kind of steps away. Well, for the most part, this area is God, where even are we? He goes and kind of takes a glance around. He actually takes the mask off for a slight moment and looks around and kind of he goes and kicks some of the dirt with his foot and kind of takes a look at like what's underneath it. For the most part, this area is mostly inhabited by just straight wolves. The majority of animals come and go from the fog fairly easily, but any intelligent creature seems to have issues with it. There have been notes of creatures from far-off regions, such as Shohan and Irian, being noted as popping up close to the border, but it could be anything, so best to stay aware.
It is not a wolf, whatever that is.
He looks back over to his drake, which was kind of still just sitting curled up on the grass, and you can see it almost as if receiving some kind of telepathic message. It gets up and starts kind of floating over towards where you are, and you can see it staring at the fog wall, almost as if like keeping an eye out.
It's probably very funny because Sigurdhur will probably have a similar expressions. They are both draconic creatures doing the same expression, staring at the same direction, like two dogs when they hear a noise.
Yeah, and Silas will go and kind of grab his pack, and he appears to be kind of at the ready as well. As eventually, after maybe another 10 minutes pass, you can hear this as you can just hear this thunderous wave emit from the Grove Shard crystal itself, and you actually see kind of a shockwave in the air push back some of the fog just a couple of inches, maybe, as you can see that Varys is actually starting to sweat a little bit right now. And you can kind of see him stare at the crystal enthusiastically, as if it seems that he has apparently done something to it. And he looks over towards the fog wall and looks over at you and Silas and just kind of gives a nod like, I think we're ready. And it is at this point that I would like for us to go and activate this. This should have been preloaded, so everybody should be on here. So is everybody able to see fine?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, Wyle's over there. I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to move myself so you aren't in the crossfire of the cube.
Yeah, and as all of this happens, suddenly, and both Mizu and Sigurdhur, you would immediately detect this. You can see that with that shockwave, all of a sudden, the space around you, especially in the magic, begins to roil and shift as everything around you gets quite a bit darker. And you can see that as Varys is kind of holding his hands a couple of inches off of the crystal, you can see him go and move to the other side of this tree, and he goes and holds the Grove Shard in front of him as a wave of concussive force goes and shoots all the way down south from him, revealing a set of small lanterns that were set within the fog. And it is at this point that this is pretty much the only passing that you can see in the entirety of the fog wall. It almost splits, kind of Shadowbringers style. And it is at that point that you can actually see that as that concussive wave comes off, you can see the grove shard shatter into small green dust particles in front of you, and it just dissipates completely onto the ground. And Varys looks back at you. All right, everybody, this is going to be our only chance. We have to go and make the crossing now.
Mm.
And
Wylle finally like pops back into reality. It's like, oh shit, and like immediately like, puts the cube away.
yeah. Yeah, and again at this same moment, you can definitely tell it, Sigurdhur, that you, Silas, and the Drake immediately all perk up on that same noise again, coming from within the mist, and it's getting louder. Until eventually, sprawling out from the center of the mists, you can see something big. And all the way at the south end of the map, if people want to see.
Yes.
Do me and Wylle
some
see? We don't.
You probably wouldn't be able to see because you're on the other side of the tree, but hold on. Considering you were ready, Sigurdhur, I'm going to move you over here.
Thank you. Ooh.
Yeah, you can see this large black mass, probably about 5 meters long or something, around 15 feet. And it is gigantic. And the even strangest thing is that it's floating in midair. And it is barreling down towards you.
Ooh, that sucks.
Yeah, and it is making the same noise that is this kind of baleful, haunting cry out into the night, as it appears to have been brought along with the mists shifting. And it is at this point that I would like everybody to roll initiative.
Ah!
Oh boy.
Make sure that you click on your token before you roll for initiative.
Oh!
And we will begin this once again.
Mizu got scared.
I
She
feel
got
like
spooked.
I feel like more she was only spooked because she was still going through her spell scroll.
Hmm.
Fair enough.
Yeah, Wylle is ready to. Okay, goddamn.
Yeah, what you were kind of already on edge all of a sudden, and yeah. Okay, so luckily, with your very good perception check, Sigurdhur, I would say that with everything going on, you have one surprise round.
Ooh.
So, in this case, we will start with Wylle.
Okay. Oh right, I forgot about
Yeah.
that. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, and it is at
this
this
is
point
me.
that you see it as well. And I would actually say, Wylle, roll a nature check.
Oh,
I want to see how much Wylle knows.
I actually have quite a bit. Okay.
Yeah, as you gaze off into this thing, being somebody that has both lived on the coast and has seen some of the things that get pulled up from the ocean, this is a massive shark. Like a massive, fatty black shark. But the thing that strikes you incredibly odd is that there is a single baleful white glowing eye in the center of its forehead. But that mouth has to be at the very least, like, I don't know, maybe 2 meters wide. Like, it is a huge creature. And it is floating just, I would say, probably a good, like, 20, 30 feet off of the ground.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah, I don't think we should stay here. I don't.
Does Wylle say that out loud?
Yeah. Yeah,
Eh.
he's just staring. Like He looks at the others, notices that they're all staring away, and he looks that way and immediately notices the shark and just like blurts out, "Yeah, I think we need to get out."
Yeah, Varys looks over to the side. I unfortunately don't think we have much choice. We have to get through. This could be our only chance for the next year.
Here. Ugh. Yeah, in that case, the Wild's not gonna hesitate, just immediately gonna start dashing. You know? Does not want to stay anywhere near here. And there we go. But he is gonna keep an eye on the thing.
Alright.
This is where we. Sorry, no.
It is Silas's turn first.
Oh.
He does see exactly what Wyle's doing. He seemingly agrees. All right, so we try to run past it then. And he's asking you, Wyle.
Yep, just book it.
Right, he's going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's going to post up right next to you and kind of get in a sprinting stance. Sigurdhur?
I don't like that Mizu's behind.
Pick her
Carry her
up.
like a bag of potatoes.
Carry her. Princess, carry her.
Yeah, I'm
Aw.
gonna do that. I'm gonna rage as a bonus.
Alright.
To give myself checks on strength. Advantage on strength checks, yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 25 feet. Does it count as an action if I pick Mizu up or grab her by the hand and she has consent?
It does still count as an action because you still have to. I'm assuming if you were trying to carry her, you still have to lift her over your shoulders.
Yeah, do you let him, is the question.
Yeah, and
Easy.
effectively, if you were trying to like grab her hand, that does mean that she still has to effectively. She basically would do her movement on your turn.
What I'm going to do is that I'm just going to roleplay this as Sigurdhur rushes towards her, pulls her by the forearm, and orders her to book it forward, and he will voluntarily stay behind in order to make sure that they remain safe and he will serve as the wall behind them and that monster.
Okay, so I would say in this case, Mizu is yeah, I mean, still that would still just be Mizu's normal movement, pretty much.
And I gave her maybe a 5 feet advantage, like if we switch places.
If you wanted to use your action to effectively shove her into the space that you were, I will allow that.
Yeah, sure, I'll do that.
Okay, so effectively you and Mizu swap spaces.
Oh, there we go. That will be my turn.
Okay.
You fucking book it!
Alright, it is now the Drake's turn, and you can see it go and move over next to Silas, and you can hear it kind of start growling at this creature. And it is at this point that Varys will go and just kind of nod to what Wylle was saying. And you can actually see... what is this? Where was this? Sorry, I just had to quickly check a spell. I thought it gave some kind of bonus to this, but I guess not. So it is at this point that you can see Varys go and press his hand squarely onto his chest, as you can see a golden glow emanate from his hand in just a second. as he goes and actually moves in front of most everybody.
What's he doing?
Mizu?
See, okay, so she was basically still going through her spell scroll at that point, making sure that she's ready, because after they were at Trugast's place, she was still beating herself up for panicking and letting her emotions get the better of her. So she wanted to be ready, but unfortunately, things don't always go as planned for adventurers, so this still took her by surprise. Seeing how Sigurdhur took action and basically yanked her forward, she follows his advice and sprints forward to their side. Is it like 60?
Yeah, 60 you have.
Yeah, you should be able to, if you are using dash, you should be able to move until it turns red. Or until just before it turns red.
Mm-hmm. Then she's gonna dash over. Oh.
Yeah, and it is at this point that you see the creature as well. And having also been from a kind of port city, you also realize that, yeah, this is some kind of huge-ass shark, bigger than anything you've ever seen. And again, the most disturbing thing is this single baleful eye and jagged teeth that surround its mouth, and the fact that it is effectively flying towards you.
I assume I don't know what it is.
No, this is you can tell it's shark-like in shape, but you've never heard of a flying shark or a shark with one eye.
Alright. In that case, I would like to ready...
You would only be able to ready something that is a bonus action. You have already spent your action dashing.
Yeah, true. Alright. I would like to... Shield is a bonus action, right? Hold on.
Yes.
I would like to ready a shield. Or no, yeah, no, I'd like to ready a shield. I don't want to use Misty Step just yet. Alright.
Oh yeah, shield is a reaction. You would not have to ready that.
Oh, okay. Alright. Then, yeah, end turn.
Alright. And as you are all getting ready, you can see that this thing, it appeared to simply have been checking out the large divide in the fog, and it now notices all of you. And that, I would say, is going to be the end of our surprise round because of Sigurdhur being attentive to the danger.
Well,
Wylle, it is now your turn.
Yeah, just gonna there we go.
Okay.
Yeah, just to be sure, this is the tree, right?
Yeah, that's like a rock. The light sources
rock?
are fairly close to the ground, so the lights kind of cast shadows on like small rocks. And I would also say, just to make sure you're aware, you do know that you have to head south, and south is downward on the map. So just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Okay, so if this is a rock, then is there just a giant tree here? Because it's also blocking vision. Okay, perfect. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna have to end that there then. I'm just trying to get behind the tree here.
Okay. And Silas is going to go and much like Varys, go and follow suit. As he's going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and is going to end his turn there, readying a dodge action. Sigurdhur.
Yep. Now that I have woken up Mizu, I'm gonna take 1, 3, so. And I'm going to try and go in the way of that creature by dashing. There we go. That will be my turn.
Alright. Okay, so much in same vein as his master, the Drake is going to then go and trail behind Silas, and then going to also ready its own dodge action. Then, following this, you can see Varys kind of nod his head to himself as he releases that kind of golden light onto himself as he goes and moves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And he is also going to ready the dodge action. And then it is Mizu's turn.
Run. That's a question. I'm not sure if she would stick. I mean, Wylle is so far apart, and I think that makes me and Mizu nervous. But all right.
You'll be fine.
You said that yesterday, and see how that turned out.
Yeah, he's still alive.
Barely. Alright. Yeah, she's gonna try and stick as close to all of them as she can. I don't think she will attack just yet, so she's just gonna stay there and be ready to do something.
Alright.
Once there's the time. Yeah.
And it is at this point that, having finally noticed you, you can all of a sudden notice that this gigantic creature all of a sudden, just in a burst of blinding speed, starts barreling over towards you. And I need to check something just a second. Yeah, so that is 1.
Mizu, what the fuck are you doing here?
Yeah, you can see it actually start barreling down on you as it dashes.
I mean, she's not just gonna stand there and let y'all handle it. She wants to help.
Yeah, and the strangest thing is that as this creature moves towards you, it is completely silent.
Ugh.
And it is at this point that you realize that whatever you heard was not this creature.
Oh, this is creepy. I don't like this.
Alright, well. Okay. So, I'm gonna, just because I'm curious, I'm gonna try and cast some vicious mockery on the thing. I'm gonna try and get its attention. I'm gonna see if just screaming is gonna work. Or not screaming, but just insulting it in Infernal is gonna work.
Okay, just a quick second.
Yeah, take your time.
Okay, I just had to double check if the creature needs to understand you. So it needs to make a wisdom saving throw, I believe.
Yep, a 15.
Okay, that's just a straight roll. That is a nat 1. As you go and insult this thing in Infernal, you can see it's not affecting it as other creatures usually do. It's almost, you can see its form like kind of contort and shift, almost as if it's not completely there. Like you can see this, certain section of it almost becomes like see-through or like black mist emanating out of it as it just kind of contorts and roils. It is currently barreling down on the half of the party.
So weird. Okay.
It did take critical damage. It took 4 damage.
Gotcha. If only vicious mockery don't work.
Yeah, something did happen, but it did not affect it in the way that vicious mockery usually works.
Yeah. It kind of like dissipated it for a slight second instead of just, looking like it's in pain.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's my turn.
All right, and it is at this point that actually, what is your active perception? Okay. It is at this point, Wylle, that you can hear something come up behind you and
Ah,
bite you right in the backside for 9 piercing damage,
oh,
as there is a shadowy wolf-like creature that ends up appearing behind you,
what the fuck?
Where's
and
Waldo?
you can hear it growling, and all of a sudden that one sound makes sense.
What?
Oh shit!
What?
I need to get the
Oh
fuck
my
out of
God.
here.
It's bad.
And as you look back to see what caused it, it's not like a wolf or anything. It looks almost like this weird hound that is almost made out of the same shade as the fog.
Hmm.
Oh my God, this is bad.
And at that point,
Oh, I
it is
forgot.
Silas.
Sorry, real
Yeah?
quick, I forgot to ask if my detect magic from earlier was still active when the sound came off, or was it?
Oh yeah,
already too much
when the
time?
sound came off, it was not magical.
All right, I just wanted to make sure, just in case.
Yeah. And it is at this point that Silas is going to go and try to run. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that will provoke an opportunity attack. Yeah, that's gonna hit. And as Silas attempts to go and run right past this thing, in the kind of weird writhing and roiling that with from Wylle's vicious mockery, you can see this thing contort its jaw over, and it takes a pretty great bite out of Silas's arm, and you can see it tears a good chunk out of his right arm as he takes 28 points of damage.
Jesus.
Yeah. And
Speechless.
you can see him grip the arm and yell out, "Ah!" But he keeps running. And Sigurdhur, it is now your
that's-
turn.
That's cool. That's great.
Ooh, this is bad. Yep. I'm gonna grapple.
You
I don't
cannot
think you
grapple anything that is larger than your size,
Oh,
unfortunately.
really?
Yes, that is
Ah.
specific. It has to be your size or lower.
Okay. Well,
At the very least, I'm fairly certain. Let me double check.
I don't see that in the grapple rules, but maybe you're right, and you have the last word anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you can grab onto it if you want, but I would say that you would not be able to stop its movement. This thing probably weighs several tons.
Ah, a pity. That's okay. I will just smash its face until it stops moving.
Alright.
I will attack recklessly with my maul.
Okay.
Also, wait, no, before I attack, I need to roll my d8 for my wild surge. Because I didn't do that.
Yes,
That's fine.
and that is 8. So,
What is my thing? Rage. What is my rage thing? Wild surge. 8. A bolt of light shoots from your chest. Another creature of your choice that you can see within 30 feet of you must succeed on a Constitution saving throw, take 1d6 radiant, and be blinded until the start of your next turn. Until your rage ends,
Okay.
you can. That is good. Do you mind if the big creature makes Constitution save, please?
yep, that is absolutely allowed. And let me see. Oh, that is a nat 1.
Ooh, that is good.
So
Oh, man, that is
as
good
as
news.
this bright light emanates from within your chest, you can see it shoot directly into the eye of this creature, as you can see it start writhing and roiling again. And you can tell that its eye almost looks dimmer at the moment.
I'm okay. I've blinded it. Now I'm going to absolutely destroy it.
Alright.
I will attack recklessly.
Okay.
So reckless attack gives me advantage, but in counterpart, it gives advantage to the people that try to attack me afterwards.
Well, yeah, and in this case, it's almost a shame that you are using rage, because blinded means you have advantage on it.
You mean reckless?
Well, yeah, because of reckless attack is.
I can attack normally.
Yeah, I mean, you'll still have advantage, basically.
Yeah. If the rolls would like to be rolled, perhaps.
I was gonna say, is it just not working?
Foundries. I usually roll with Foundry, and Foundry's not working.
Okay, just try rolling with DDB, and we'll see.
Yep. 14.
Okay, yeah, I see it. So as you go and, actually, don't forget to roll again.
Yeah.
Because advantage.
23. Much better.
Yeah.
That's
As
much
you
better.
go and blind this creature, you immediately just hop up to it and just swing like a baseball bat and just nail it right in the jaw. And
13 points of bludgeoning damage, +2 because of the rage.
yeah. As you strike it pretty square in the jaw, you can almost see it almost kind of redirect itself a little bit, but also kind of like spins as if it's like swimming in the air to kind of go right back at wherever it felt that jolt come from.
Come at me, you fucking bitch!
Alright. And of course, not being too keen on seeing its master take such a hit right there, you can immediately hear the Drake come in like as 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tries to get itself in between both it and its master, and it is going to go and attempt to make a strike on this. Hold on, where's the Argon thing? Yes, it is going to try to make a bite attack on this target. And it is going to succeed. As you go and see this Drake kind of spring forth from the ground, and immediately kind of in this oddly like coiling dance, it latches itself onto the neck of this creature and just starts trying to rip out a good chunk of it for a good 6 damage. And that it is going to basically hold on as much as it can to try to keep this thing sane, or keep this thing held. And as all of this is going on, Varys, this thing already having used its reaction, is going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And he is then going to... You can see him go and reach out his hands over onto Silas, as he's going to then cast Cure Wounds. And that will restore him for... As you're taking a look at the greenish energy that is emanating out from Varys' hand, you can see it kind of reach over to the opposite side of Silas, where the bite hit him. And you can you could probably see a little bit of the bone out from where it got just absolutely, the chunk just got absolutely torn right out of his shoulder. And you can actually see that even in the dim light, there is a section of it that is no longer showing the bone right now as he heals 10. Oh, that's not the right one. There we go. As he heals 10 HP, and you can see Varys kind of grab him, kind of duck his head under Silas's arm, and kind of try to start pulling him away. And it is at this point that, let's see, this is going to be that immediately while you can see what you would only assume would be the very same thing that got behind you, you can see this almost shadowy wolf head appear out of the shadow and go and try to make a bite attack on Varys.
Oh boy.
And it definitely hits. As he takes come on. Where is it? Sorry, it's not rolling again.
Is it because of Foundry?
No, I don't think so. Oh, hold on, I think I have to... How do I roll the damage? Yeah, this is a... Oh, here we go. Yeah, it was just calculating for whatever reason. Yeah, so as you go and see this wolf head apparate, as he's attempting to go and heal Silas, you can go and see that this thing takes a... As he's healing Silas, you can go and see this shadowy wolf head, and then as it's leaping almost out of the shadows and the mists, you can see the rest of it form behind the head as it goes and rips another chunk out of Varys's arm. As he goes, it takes a pretty sizable chunk out of his arm, and he's bleeding pretty profusely.
Breeding?
Shut.
Reading.
I got a lot of things I'm trying to read off right now, and I'm also trying to troubleshoot Argon Combat Hub at the same time.
Nah, I'm into it.
Shut. But anyway,
I mean, it works because I did say earlier one of us is gonna leave pregnant and ain't gonna be me.
But yeah, this other thing has just ripped a gigantic chunk out of Varys's arm. And it is at that point that it is going to then... I believe it can do this as a bonus action. Yes, it then goes and fades itself back into the mist, just disapparating into the fog.
Bullshit.
Yeah, and it is now Mizu's turn.
Thank God you let me do my preparations earlier. Alright. How much is 10 feet wide?
That would be a 10-foot square.
Like this?
Yes.
I have Gust of Wind prepared.
Okay.
And 60? How much is that? I can't see it. I have it zoomed out so it's easier for everyone to see. But...
Yeah, you can... yeah, that's about 35. Well, let me... where the fuck is measuring?
I would have... Oh, game paused. Hold on. What?
Yeah, so 60 feet is like this far.
Okay.
Or, yeah, this far.
This far from my end. Okay, since that thing is invisible, that's the thing that worries me. But also Mizu the most. So I'm gonna use Gust of Wind. That's a concentration of 20. Yeah, I'm gonna use that.
Okay, and is that a line?
That's a line.
Okay. Alright, so that is a strength DC...
Of 14.
Of 14, yep. And it does not make that, so does it get pushed to the full amount?
Hold on. Any creature in the line must spend 2 feet of movement for every 1 foot it moves when moving closer to you. The gust disperses gas or vapor, blah blah blah. It causes it doesn't say... Oh wait. Yeah, must succeed on a saving strength or be pushed 15 feet away from you in a direction following the line. So, towards the south.
Okay, so, sorry, did it say how many feet it's
15,
moved?
15.
Okay, so that is 1, 2, 3. You can't necessarily see anything, but it does... It almost looks like there's some kind of weird mass that got shunted through a section of the fog.
Okay, good to know. Afterwards, I would like to move... I think this is the furthest I can go. Yeah. Well, I can't see. Okay. Anyway. That's
Yeah.
that's the end of my turn.
Okay. So, noticing the big old bonking on the head that it got, it is going... The gigantic flying creature is going to attempt to try and make a bite attack at you, Sigurdhur, which... let me just quickly roll that again, because it is at disadvantage.
I think you already rolled, because I received damage. A lot of damage.
Oh, hold on. Undo that.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. It's supposed to not apply the damage until I okay it, basically. I'll have to
okay.
double check that.
Mhm.
But, yeah, that roll plus, what is its proficiency? It doesn't, +3, okay. Yeah, as it goes and kind of spins itself around, attempting to shake off Silas's Drake, you can immediately hear these gigantic jaws just come up on you, just like...
Ooh. Yeah.
As it fails to actually find you. It basically bites right off to your left and right off to your right as it misses you.
Okay.
And that is going to be its turn.
Thank God.
Wylle. So, you got that dog on you.
Yeah, this one's gonna be, this is... God, okay, you wouldn't let me use healing word on myself, right? Because the specific wording is a creature of your choice that you can see within range.
That includes you.
Yeah, I would say that
Yeah?
that includes you.
Oh, thank God. Okay. I'm gonna use a healing word on myself. Why did it roll twice? That was the first level spell. So it should just be...
Yeah, it says you cast it at 2nd level.
What the hell? Okay, so it's a 3 plus 5, so it's just an 8.
Yeah, so you heal 8 points, and immediately you can feel part of the wound at your backside kind of stitch itself back up a bit.
Thank goodness. And since that was a bonus action, I will disengage. And 3, 4.
Yeah, stick close to her. She has the wind. It fucking windy over here.
It fucking windy. As he passes Mizu, he just like quietly says, "Watch out behind you." And that's the end of my turn.
Alright. And it is at this point that as you are kind of running, looking behind you, you can see the creature itself disappear again from view. And you can see parts of the mist shifting and roiling, but you can't tell exactly where it might have gone, as it is going to end its turn. It is now Silas's turn. Is with everything that he's had going on, he's still clutching his shoulder, which is still bleeding pretty profusely, but a lot of the actual meat has kind of reformed into his shoulder. He is then going to go and then kind of place a hand onto his own chest, and then apparently cast some kind of a spell. As you can see, that as he places his hand onto his chest, there's a very brief flicker of light that seems to emanate from the insides of the armor on his lower legs, as he then goes and tries to... For the sake of this, I'm going to say that that both Varys and Silas move together. So they move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that is going to be the end. What?
Sorry.
Yeah. JJK brain rot be real.
Yeah.
Okay. And it is at this point, Sigurdhur, that is now your...
Okay, then as a bonus action, I would like to reiterate the blinding attempt, because it is part of this feature.
And you can activate that every turn?
Every turn, yep. The blindness lasts until the until the beginning of my next turn.
Alright.
And until my rage ends, I can use the effect again on each of my turn as a bonus. So I will do that. I would like the creature to make a Constitution saving throw, please.
Alright. And what was the DC on that?
The DC is I believe it is 13. Wait, no. Shoot. Shoot. Hold on. Let me look at it really quickly. Equal 8 plus proficiency bonus, which is 2, so that's 10, plus my constitution modifier, that's 3, so 13, yes.
Unfortunately, as you release this light from your chest once again, you can see the eye of this creature undim as it then looks directly at you. It did not take.
Ugh. It's okay. I'll attack recklessly then.
Alright.
Maul. Does a 24 hit? I believe it does.
Mm-hmm. That hits.
For 15 plus 2 damage, that's a total of 17.
Okay, yeah, sure enough. As this thing goes and stares at you, you just bean it right in the side. And sorry, you said that's how much?
17.
17, okay.
Yeah, I hit like a truck.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that I'm getting the...
Good thing Varys warmed you up earlier.
Yeah, he really did.
Yeah. As you go and just bash this thing in the side of its face, and you actually do, in this case, send a couple of the needle-like teeth in its face flying, it is rather odd. Is this thing doesn't... Considering you've got such a close look at this thing, this does not look natural at all. This looks completely alien to any kind of fish or anything you have ever seen. It's got this dark, kind of black mottled complexure, but its spots, wherever like you start to see like the softer flesh, is almost like blue, like light bluish in nature, and has a slight glow to it, almost as if you're looking at stars.
Wow. It is terrifyingly pretty, but I'm going to kill it.
Yeah.
So this is my turn. Remember that if it tries to attack me, it will have advantage.
Mm-hmm. And it's at this point that the Drake companion is going to very much keep trying to, almost like a lamprey, kind of bite into this thing, kind of twist and turn and spasm to try to bite as much out of it as it can. And it is going to tear out another slight chunk of flesh right there as it manages to go and rip off a section of the flesh of this creature. And it is now Varys' turn. Is having dealt with the creature that was just behind him, he is going to again cast another Cure Wounds on, this time on himself, for oh no, buddy. For 6 damage as the kind of gash that was on his forearm slowly starts to knit itself up together. And having already spent his action to kind of help Silas move along, he's going to end his turn there. Lee, the gust of wind, is that like once every time on the creature's turn?
Yes, it says each creature that starts its turn in the line must succeed on a strength saving throw or be pushed 15 feet away from you in a direction following the line. Any creature in the line must spend 2 feet of movement for every 1 foot it moves when moving closer to you.
And what was the DC on that? Was that your spell DC of 14?
It's at the save, it says strength 14.
Okay. Yeah, so you can see that as you were kind of focusing on where you saw the creature last, it's really hard to tell because the wind is also gusting away whatever fog and everything you're in there. but you almost get the sense that something has been moved. And it is now your turn.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow Wild's earlier call out and just keep moving forward and not look behind. You can tell that because of the gust of wind, Mizu's hood keeps like wildly moving around, and she's actually really trying her best to like pull it down so it doesn't move away.
Okay.
As she runs, or not runs, but she moves forward, but she keeps an eye on Wylle still. Yeah, and
Keeps an eye on Wylle.
I think if I use any other spell, that'll break my concentration, right?
Yeah. Or, well, not any other spell. Any other spell that has the concentration modifier to it.
Oh, okay, so I can still use other spells so long
You
as...
could still use, like, a cantrip that doesn't have an active effect.
I would like to use Water Bolt on this one, the big one.
Alright.
Right, let me roll.
Alright, yeah, 21 definitely hits. As you go and coalesce the water between your hands and fling it at the creature, you can see it make a sizable impact on the creature, but the thing that strikes you odd is that the water freezes as soon as it hits the creature, and it disapparates into this misty, icy dust. Or the water bolt does, sorry, not the creature.
Oh, okay, so it doesn't actually hit him.
No, it did hit him,
Oh,
and
okay.
it did do full damage. It just, as soon as the water touched this thing, it froze. And I would say that Sigurdhur has not noticed this because of both his class proficiency and his racial proficiency in cold resistance.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Oh, so be careful, alright.
Yeah, and it is at this point Sigurdhur that finally being able to see the man that gave it big ouchies, it is going to then go and make a bite attack on you. And apologies if this automatically applies the damage. Again, I'm still trying to figure out how to get it not to do that.
Mm.
Okay, yeah, 17 hits as it goes and takes a gigantic chunk out of you. And in fact, it at this point basically wraps its face around your torso and begins to swallow you.